Hey, welcome! Today, we're going to talk about a whole new way to think about success. One that lets you achieve big things without the burnout and helps you build a life that actually feels good and meaningful. So, let's dive in. So let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like you're just running on a hamster wheel, chasing this idea of success that honestly leaves you feeling more stressed out than satisfied? If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. And that feeling is exactly what we're going to unpack today. Here's our game plan. First, we'll break down the problem, what I like to call the success trap. Then we'll find a new compass to guide us. After that, we'll work on building a resilient mindset for the journey. And finally, we'll put it all together into a real practical action plan. Okay, first things first, the success trap. Let's really get into why the way we usually chase success so often just leads to stress and feeling like something's missing. Here's the deal. The problem is our obsession with external stuff. The money, the status, the fancy job titles. When that's the only thing we're chasing, it's a direct path to burnout, constant anxiety, and that awful, nagging feeling that we're a total fraud. Imposter syndrome. So, this brings us to a really important shift in how we look at this. Instead of seeing success as some kind of product we have to get, what if we started seeing it as a psychological process? This simple switch moves our focus away from external rewards and onto our internal well-being and values. And that is the secret sauce for building real resilience and motivation that actually lasts. Okay, so if the old map doesn't work, we need a new compass, right? In this next part, we're going to build a much healthier, more useful definition of success to guide us. And our new compass is something called the PERMA model. It was developed by the psychologist Martin Seligman, and it's a super solid framework that lays out the 5 core ingredients for genuine happiness and well-being. Just think of it as your new guide to a much more complete and fulfilling kind of success. So what are these 5 things? Well, P is for positive emotion, simply feeling good. E is for engagement. That's when you're so absorbed in what you're doing that you lose track of time, that flow state. R is for relationships. Our connections with other people are absolutely vital. M is for meaning, feeling like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And finally, A is for accomplishment. Yep, setting and hitting goals. But notice, it's just one piece of a much, much bigger picture. Now, all 5 of these are important, but starting with meaning, the M, is a total game changer. When your goals are tied to a deep sense of purpose, you tap into this incredible source of motivation that comes from within. It becomes like your psychological anchor, giving you the strength and resilience to handle pretty much anything that comes your way. Okay, we've got our new compass. Now we need to pack the right mindset for the journey. This whole section is about building that mental toolkit you're going to need. A huge part of this is understanding the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, a concept from Dr. Carol Dweck. A fixed mindset basically says your talents are what they are, and that's it. Effort feels like a bad thing, like proof you're not smart enough. But a growth mindset? It believes that you can develop your abilities. Effort isn't a threat. It's literally the path to getting better. And what's amazing is that the power of this huge shift can be found in one tiny 3-letter word. Just adding the word yet to a sentence like, I can't do this, completely changes everything. It turns what felt like a failure into a step on the journey, and a dead end into an open road. The next tool in our kit is something called psychological flexibility. The best way to think about it is like a shock absorber for your mind. It's the ability to handle stress and tough emotions without getting totally thrown off course. And we can build this skill using some really powerful techniques from a therapy method called ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy. So let's talk about a big one, imposter syndrome. ACT gives us a brilliant way to handle it. Instead of trying to fight that inner voice that's telling you you're a fake, the idea is to just observe it. You just notice the thought without getting tangled up in it and without judging yourself for even having it. Here's a phrase you can literally say to yourself to practice this. This is just a thought I'm having, not a confirmed reality. When you say that, you create a little bit of space between you and the thought. It helps you see that a thought is just that, a thought. It's not a fact. And this simple move, which is called cognitive diffusion, just drains that thought of all its power. All right, in our final section, we're going to take all these ideas and turn them into a solid plan. It's time to make this stuff real and practical.
To do this, we're going to use a brilliant little tool called Whoop. It's a simple, scientifically backed method for making plans that are basically resistant to all the obstacles that life is going to throw at you.
So Whoop is an acronym for 4 steps. First, wish. What's one specific thing you want to achieve? Next, outcome. Picture the best possible result. Really feel how amazing it would be. Third, and this is the key part, obstacle. What's the main internal thing that might get in your way? Is it procrastination, self-doubt? And finally, plan. You create a simple if-then plan to deal with that obstacle head-on. This if-then plan is what scientists call an implementation intention. It's just a fancy way of saying you decide ahead of time exactly how you're going to respond to a specific trigger. It basically automates your response so you don't have to rely on willpower in the moment, which keeps you moving toward your goal. Here's a perfect real-world example. Let's say your main obstacle is feeling totally overwhelmed. Your plan could be as simple as this. If I feel overwhelmed, then I will work for just 5 minutes. That's it. This little plan is so powerful because it breaks that paralysis we feel. Getting started is always the hardest part. So let's do a quick recap of your new toolkit for sustainable success. First, use the PERMA model to redefine what success even means to you. Second, adopt a growth mindset by just adding that powerful word, yet. Third, use those ACT techniques to unhook from negative thoughts. Fourth, create those obstacle-proof plans with Whoop. And finally, running through all of this, always practice self-compassion. Be on your own team, not your own worst critic. And that brings us to the end. I'm going to leave you with one question to really think about. Based on what truly matters to you, your values, what is one small, value-driven action you can commit to taking today? Because this kind of success isn't built overnight. It's built one meaningful step at a time. Thanks so much for joining me.
If you're ready to explore the hidden truths behind mysterious sciences, subscribe now and become part of the enlightened society.